Here we go. All right. Welcome to a special episode of the Stewpot. This is with my good friend Cory Kastle. There's been a lot of things happening with the professional wrestling business lately. And him and I reached out to him and I just said, hey, let's just have a discussion about this because I think people might want to know what we think or what's going on. And I consider this probably the biggest shakeup in the business.
Yeah, dude, this is Benoit all over again. Like this is a larger scale. I mean, that was a oh my god, but this is like a oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. Like it's a whole other oh my god every single day.
Yeah, it was like, well, I think the number keeps growing. The more I hear, the number keeps growing. And
Right.
I believe it or not, because I broke in the 90s. And if people want to know what we're talking about, we're here to talk about the Speak Out movement right now. I actually reached out to a female trainee that I helped train. I'm not going to say her name. And I said, how are you doing? Are you okay? She said, yes, I'm not willing to talk in public. And I said, okay. I said, hey, I'm here if you need me. No, because I told her, I said,
right. Yeah. I mean, people are trying to be safe about what's said now. Like and it's a sort of a almost eggshells situation right now.
Right. Like I was telling you before we started the podcast, I was like, hey, man, I'm having trouble getting guests. I actually stopped doing it because I just said, look, maybe I should just take a break until things cool off. Because that was not necessarily the Black Lives Matter movement or the all the political stuff that's happening. But just even this, I think they're afraid to say anything. They're afraid to probably tell a ring rat story. I mean, I guarantee you. And it's just wow, it just blows my mind. And I thought back because I did a evolving episode with you, and we were talking, and we just talked about back in the 90s when, God, way back when, when dinosaurs roamed, I guess, seems so long ago. When I was in the business, doing what we did wasn't a big deal, but I never really pursued anybody. They came to me. So because I was a wrestler, so I didn't have to pursue anybody. So I don't know what the story is now, but anything you want to share your thoughts on this, because I think there's a lot more women now in the business than there ever has been, and that is a part of it. That's why we're seeing this happening, I think.
I know. Okay, I can say that I can sleep at night because if I had ever tricked anyone into having sex with me, I would not be able to sleep at night. I wouldn't be able to live with myself. Like I feel like that's a level of like torture for yourself. I mean, some people just have the morality where they can make that compromise. Myself, I can't. I was raised by a single mother who was abused when she was a kid. Like, yeah, I'm not one for, like, I have sisters.
Yeah.
Like this all is too much. Like I can't imagine the kind of feelings I'd have if I found out something like that happened to one of my sisters.
Yeah. Well, I had a younger sister that was about 2 years younger than me. And it was my job to protect her growing up. So I was always very protective, and I was always respectful towards women. The other thing, too, is I have 2 daughters. And people always ask me, are your daughters going to get in the business? And you know what I said to them before this even came out? I said, no, really? I don't want anywhere near it.
I want them to have their own dreams, do their own thing.
Do their own thing, whatever they want to do. Because my 5-year-old, she's almost 5. She'll be 5 in September. She said she wants to be a teacher. I said, great. Because her cousin Emily is going to college to be a teacher, and with an elementary school. She said, great, that's awesome, fantastic. I definitely want to be a teacher. That's great. My other one, she's 3, so she doesn't care. She doesn't say anything yet.
Yeah, yeah. No one's supposed to have it figured out yet. They want.
Said that now. I mean, I'm not going to hold her to it when she's 18. So trust me. But it's to hear that they have interest. They try to do other things, and just the business itself. There's people in this business that are absolute scum and absolute just the bottom of the barrel, worst human beings you could ever meet. And then you have good people too. Don't get me wrong. There's scum. I guess you could say that about any business, but it's awful. It's just absolutely awful.
I mean, I went last night. I went last night and did I did stand up comedy last night. I've been off for a couple months. And this bar, this like rock and roll club, this rock and roll club in Wilmington, Delaware, was having a mic, and a bunch of my friends who are comics were going. So I was like really excited to go. And I got to have that club feeling, being out into the club and hang like the cool hangs with comics after the shows. So they were just like, dude, you get into some of your stories about wrestling. And I'm like, here's the thing. I think I have some that I could do, but nothing like nobody who I'm talking to on stage at a comedy show knows who any of these people are that I'm talking about. And some of the stories don't age very well. So I was just like, I don't want to come out like I'm like trying to expose anybody or kind of screw anybody up. Cause it's like some of these people are really close friends of mine, and I wouldn't want to try to make fun of them. And,
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. Plus, if the stories don't age well, then you can understand that. I was going to make a point. Like, I know I could sleep well at night because I never coerced anybody into having sex with me. Mm-hmm. Growing up the way I did, and what I mean by that, and I don't mean that I had a rough childhood or anything. I wasn't the athlete of the family. I was kind of a chubbier kid until I matured. After I turned 18. The baby fat fell off me and I got more athletic. But I was always shy around girls and I never made the first move. It was very rare. Even when, I think I kind of briefly told you about this. I was very young when I lost my virginity. Yeah. And I was my 15th birthday. And the girl she was the one, she initiated it with me and she was 18. So, yeah. Technically, it's statutory rape, and I would never say anything about it now. I'm not saying her name or anything. Right. I was willing to I was still a willing participant, and I was old enough to know. I was too young to be doing that. I had no idea. I was just a stupid kid. But it's like, oh, hey, here's a chance. I can't chicken out. I'm not a man if I don't do that. But my point being there's only 2 times in my life where I was the one that asked the girl out first.
Right, and one's your wife. One
of them's my wife. The other one was the girl from Mexico, and she lives in California.
Right.
So that's it. And that took me both times. I mean, with my wife, it wasn't so hard because I learned that harsh lesson from the girl from Mexico. Because I figured, hey, if you don't go for it, you don't fight for it, you're not going to get it. So that's really what led me to it. But with her, it took everything I had to ask her out. And I don't think she kind of noticed, like, are you okay? Like, are you all right? What are you doing? But that's just why I couldn't wrap my head around doing something like that. Because I struggle just even asking a girl out. And despite that, I had a lot of women in my life that I've slept with because of wrestling, but it wasn't women in the business. Mm-hmm. In the 90s, we didn't have to. Well, right. There wasn't that many women in the locker room. And if there was, it was somebody's daughter, it was somebody's wife, it was somebody's girlfriend. You just didn't do it. You just hands off. You kind of do like when I was in ECW, Chris Candido's wife was there. I would never try anything with him.
Right.
I say hi to her, how you doing? Be respectful. Or who else was back there? Beulah McGillicuddy and Francine. I was just be cool with them. Right. Not anything. You just didn't. You just didn't. So
Dawn Marie was there back then, right? Too. What was that?
Yeah, she came in after I left.
Okay, I had a major crush on Dawn Marie when I was a boy. When I was a young boy, I had a big crush. I went on a couple dates when I was like 14 or 15 with a girl who I was like, she kind of looks like Dawn Marie, and that was like the reason I went on dates with her. Imagine Dawn Marie, 15 years old with braces. That was me. That was the girl that I went on a couple dates with. I went mini golfing with a girl. I don't remember her name, but I just remember in my head as the Dawn Marie looking girl.
Yeah, that's awesome. But no, I mean, it's just I can't wrap my head around this stuff. Like just the things that I was reading, the links that these guys went to just to try to get laid. I don't get it. I mean, isn't there a better way to do it?
It's like, it's almost like some of these people were so obviously upfront about it that you didn't even question it. So like Joey Ryan, his gimmick was like sleaze, like legalize sleaze, right? And everything was like, touch my dick, touch my dick. That was like the gimmick. The gimmick was like, grab his dick and then he'll flip you over. And and this other guy, David Starr, I don't know him. I knew Joey, but I didn't know David. I met him a couple times. What's up?
Met Joey once in Vegas at Cauliflower Alley Club. I mean, I really didn't talk to him, you know.
I met Joey in CZW in like 2003, and then indie shows here and there, like more recently.
His career's done.
Yeah,
his career's done. I mean, 16 Girls came out. I mean, I saw him doing when he started doing that stupid stuff, and I was like, I'm sitting there thinking, if you have talent, why do? And I think he got off on it.
Well, I think there's like the whole like lollipop thing. There's that was weird. The baby oil thing, and then the dick spot thing.
You're like, ugh.
It's not too surprising to understand that guy was like manipulating folks into actually doing sexual things with him. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, and how long was this going on? I mean, what sparked this whole thing? Because I'll tell you what, not much you heard. A lot of it was in the UK, mostly indie stuff in UK, mostly indie stuff in the United States. The major companies, I didn't see much of their WWE, not so much, maybe like some things here and there, but I mean, most of it was indie, from what I'm understanding. And there's some companies that shut down completely because of it.
I mean, I think WWE, the NXT UK is done.
Yeah.
And I made the joke on Wrestle Rock that they should call it NXT UCK. Uck. It turned from NXT UK to NXT Uck.
Of course.
Because of lots of people being non-consensual with their you know, it's weird because I mean, and I was telling you the story, and I don't know how much details I want to get into it, but a doctor took advantage of me when I was really young in this business. So he seemed like he really wanted to help, but then I'm in a group chat with 9 other guys who were all just like me, had the exact same experience, and like they were just gullible kids.
Right.
And I'm pretty sure dude, a lot of us in the business are kids who came from SPED, a bunch of special ed kids. Like that's part of it. Part of wanting to do this. It's like the audience is special ed kids. So the biggest marks for the business are the people in the business. So it just stands to reason that this guy found his marks to go, oh man, you're really going through something, and I think only I can help you.
So he took advantage of you because you were vulnerable?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That's usually how predators work. That's how they operate.
Yeah, dude, it was like okay, this was before Obama, of course, so like my healthcare ended at I wasn't covered anymore, and I was like 23 and I had no health insurance. And he was like, "Oh, well, you know, you've got a pulled groin. You've got a pulled groin and a clog in your urethra. I can help you with this alternative method. But if you don't do it, you're going to require this surgery where they're going to have to cut your dick open. Oh. And I also have no insurance. So
So of course I'll do this.
Right. Of course, I'm scared. And this guy seems concerned. And it was like, why would somebody who wasn't like legit be in a locker room where we're athletes and we're performers on a level, Yeah. I figured, and I just went with it. And I've spoken to a few people about it over the years, and it's really like, we even talked about it on the group that I'm in with the other wrestlers, and it's like, oh, I feel like this guy might be like, hey, why are you saying this about me? But I've done the research, and what he wanted to do was, what he was doing was not
right.
a procedure that anyone does.
Right.
It's not a part of chiropractic, and it's not a massage therapy thing. It's not a Reiki thing. It's just, it didn't seem like he was getting off on it. Like,
yeah,
it's
oh,
so that's like, that's what I was telling you earlier. I was texting with my ex because she was there. She was there, and she was like, yeah, I thought it was weird too.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. So but you weren't the only one.
No, a bunch of guys.
Wow. So is he going to be brought up, or what's going to happen?
There's statements being typed up by everybody, and sent to a lawyer.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how much I'll really be able to talk about it as time goes on, but for right now, it's like sort of the genesis of, we're all waking up to the fact that we were taken advantage of.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you don't have to go any farther into it than that. But I'd be honest with you, I can't speak from any experience of what I had done to me, because I never had that experience. The closest thing was, there was a guy that was from Western Pennsylvania, but he really had no pull. He had no clout. He acted like he did in the business. And he reached out to me. He's like, I can help you. We'll get pictures. Come to my house. We'll get pictures of you and all this stuff. So he's and it turns out he was homosexual, and he liked to lure guys in. But I talked to Charlie before I went or did anything with him, and Charlie said, let me tell you about him. And so it's all Charlie said. All he said, he goes, he likes little boys. That's all he said to me. So enough said. I never called him back. Didn't even go back, didn't do anything. And that was it. But that was the closest thing. I just didn't, before I did anything, and I wasn't sure, I said, hey, Charlie, you know who this guy is? What is he? Because Charlie had a lot of pull, he had a lot of clout. And he got me booked on WWF. And, so I'm obviously going to listen to him, because he got into the business. So, yeah, that was it. I'm not even going to say that guy's name, because even something else came up recently, even on Facebook, about him. I'm like, wow. I was like, serious? That was 23 years ago, or not 20, God, even longer than that, 26 years ago.
And yeah, there was I don't want to get into, I'm not trying to out anybody. I don't want to, I get this speaking out thing, but here's something. There was a person who's like well known in the business, who was, when I was 17 years old, trying to groom me, because I heard him talking about a gay club, and I was like, you go to the gay club? Like, talking to somebody else. And I was like, you go to the gay club? And he's like, how'd you know that was a gay club? And I was like, oh, my brother's gay, and he goes there. And he's like, oh, you have a gay brother? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, does he look like you? No. But then all the flirty jokes that he would make. Oh, I'm kidding. Like, kind of stuff about like I bet you this, that I could get you this. And I'm not trying to get into like too much of the crazy details, but it was always like, oh, if I continue with this, I may get a good spot. in a good indie because everyone knows who this guy is, right?
Yeah. Yeah. You don't have to say his name if you don't want to. So that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm not going to expect you. Probably if you, I have an idea who you're talking about, but I'm not going to say or anything else. But I mean, there's other things too. You know, I was listening to one podcast not too long ago. It was the one with Disco Inferno and Conan. You know what I'm
Keeping
talking?
it 100.
So I think so. And they were talking, and Disco made a point saying that there's more women in the business now than there ever has been. There's women in locker rooms, and on the independent level, we're all changing in front of each other.
Right.
I mean, we are. I mean, the best thing to do is like put a towel on and change. I mean, that's the thing you do.
Right.
And I mean, would I be comfortable if that was my wife or my girlfriend back there with me and we're all changing while we're changing, all these guys are changing around. And some guys don't give a shit and they just, you know, let it all hang out and they do that. Right. I think they do it to get a reaction from the girl.
Well, so I don't think it's that. I don't necessarily think it's that. I think it's just like some guys are just like, it's just like any locker room. If you go to the gym, there's old men who are just getting naked and not caring. Like, I think some folks is just like, it's just a part of the process of getting changed out of one thing and putting on another thing.
Well, right. But that's around other guys. I mean,
right. That's a men's locker room. That's designated for only men. Right.
Only, yeah, I know we're using gendered language. Oh boy. But you know what I mean? If there was like a co-ed locker room or a co-ed locker, most independent locker rooms are a small room with a bunch of chairs. And
or like a tarp tent.
Yeah.
There's some tarp tent with plastic foldy chairs in it in the grass.
Right. Yeah, and they're supposed to change and do all this other stuff, and you know, yeah. I don't know. I just, you know, I always, because when you have to change like that, you just gotta be respectful, I guess. But there's some guys that just don't care. They'll just, you know.
Right. Like I think I've had like a towel with me in my bag almost every show. And if I forgot to bring a towel, I'll put my jacket over me as I'm taking my stuff off and putting my other stuff on.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a way to do it discreetly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, like that's the thing with like DJs. DJ Hyde is like now getting like called out on like the speaking out thing for the like the CZW girls division or WSU. Did you hear about that?
Well, I heard DJ Hyde, but I don't know the details of it.
Okay. Well, I mean, he's always been weird, especially weird around women. I mean, I don't have as much like exact detail to things, and I haven't been in the CZW like orbit in long enough time that I couldn't really comment on it.
Okay, so you don't know the details. Yeah, but I mean, I do. I can also say just in Cleveland Independence and Pittsburgh Independence, which where I did a lot of stuff, or Ohio and Pennsylvania Independence, I should actually say, not just specifically Cleveland and Pittsburgh. But there's been stuff with women that you see other wrestlers do things or say things or how they handle it. It's like, really? Is that what we're doing? You know, I mean, you just kind of like look at them like, I understand, you know. Back to it, there was one female wrestler that I helped train. And when, like I said, I reached out to her and talked to her. And one of the things I said to her, I says, I'm not really surprised that this stuff's coming out because she got hit on all the time. Mm-hmm. All the time. She didn't get hit on by me. Right. And I said, I'm more of the exception than the rule. And I knew that. So, you know,
there was a show. I'm going to have to say it was like 4 years ago, maybe 4 or 5 years ago. This female trainee who like now is kind of somebody. She's like done a bunch of stuff and everybody knows who she is. Her trainer brought her to a show I was on and she was like bumping around on the ring for like doing, you know, just doing universal stuff, you know, like the tackle drop down, hit toss, all that kind of stuff. And I came up to her and I was like, hey, can can I talk to you about like some of your stuff? I want to help you out. Like, because I for sure like was noticing some stuff, and it was like I could easily help you with some stuff to try. As someone who's been doing this for a good amount of my life, giving just somebody who's brand new at it a little bit of advice. And I went up to her and I was trying to talk to her, and her trainer said, "Look out, he wants to fuck you." And I was like, whoa. I was like, "You are her trainer. You shouldn't say that." I was like pretty mad, and I was like, "I would never do that. It's not my style. I'm trying to help someone." Like that was a boundary that you just crossed with me, and I was like, "You just screwed up whatever my idea of you was, whatever like respect level I had for you, whatever like you're a traveled name in this business. You just threw dirt right on it for me, because that's like you can say, oh, be careful of this guy or that guy. Don't just scream that guy wants to fuck you because he's trying to give you advice on your headlocks.
I think he was trying to make sure that she wouldn't gravitate towards you. Maybe he had a plan for himself. Maybe, I don't know.
It might have been just because maybe it was just his perception, because the biggest reaction when I would come out to the ring was from the female fans. Like I'm a good looking guy. I get I don't know, but I just was like, I was very taken aback, and I was like, okay, I would never do that. I was like, my girlfriend's at all the shows with me. I'm not that type. Like right. Yeah. I was like, I've always been a one girl guy, and I've never been a cheater. Like, that's not my style. I just don't want to do that. I just came out of an open relationship that I was uncomfortable with it. I was honestly, it was like I had a pass to be on the dating apps and to meet up with women and like hook up and stuff. But like, I didn't want that. I wanted to be with her, but she wanted it to be open because she wanted to be with other people. And then I started thinking about how I would feel inadequate. Yeah. And I feel like I wasn't enough, and I would feel like my time isn't as valued by you.
Right.
And I was like, well, I gotta ride into the sunset. You know what I mean? I gotta see what works best for me.
It might have been working for her, but it wasn't working for you. So,
right. Mm-hmm.
So whatever reason she had for being the way she was, she obviously wasn't ready for a committed relationship. So I hate to say that, but this is how it is. I've always heard that too. There's couples that have open marriages, like they were talking about Cornette, Tim and Stacey Cornette, and I'm kind of like, ew. And just for the record, my wife and I have been monogamous since 2009. So I've been with her for 11 years, and I'm fine. I don't ever. I told her, nah. So trust me, we've talked about things like that, but we're just kind of like, I mean, because I told her, because if you start doing that and you have a family, if it's one thing if we were going to do that, we were a married couple or we're just in a relationship and hey, let's experiment, let's try this, let's try. But when you have two small children,
right, it adds a whole other wrinkle to the.
Not thinking, because if I'm doing stuff like that, I'm thinking for myself. I'm not thinking for them. So that's how I kind of like, yeah, you know what? They're the best thing I can do is to be a father and to be here for them and to provide for them. So if I do anything or we try something and it screws up our marriage, because once we go there, there's no going back.
Right.
That's why we said no. That's why I said no. And she agreed with me. She's like, yeah, she's like, nothing was going to come of it. It was just
it's the fleeting thought. Look,
It's just a funny thought. Yeah. But
I
with Jim and Casey, those stories, I heard him deny it. He didn't deny. You know what he did? You know what he denied? He denied uh, giving anybody a position in wrestling unless they did this. He denied the coercion. He said, not saying that things weren't done or things happened. Hey, if there's a group of all of them together and they're all consenting adults, then hey, so be it. That's none of my business. It's none of my concern. But
I think once you add a level of intimacy, whether you care or you don't, as long as like private parts are involved, there is some manipulation somehow when it comes to this person. This person is in a position where they can give me a better spot. I mean, that almost has been the rumor in the business. Fourth wall, folks. Other side, pulling the curtain back. Everyone's been saying that shit about like Pat Patterson since like the beginning. Like when I was going to do extra work for WWE in 2009, some of the other guys that I know who had done it before, I would talk to my friends and say like what my friends who had been there before and say like what to expect. And some of them were like, this guy is a real big, he's really over with Pat Patterson, if you know what I mean. Like that was just a part, like they were like, well, this guy, that guy's got a spot because he's really over with Pat Patterson. And I took it as like, dude, you're just jealous that you're not that. You know what I mean? You're not. And sometimes it's that level of jealousy. People go, oh, we only got that spot because the rumor that I'm not going to say where I heard these sources or anything at all. I'm not going to.
Okay.
But people were saying to me, probably 2009, that like Seth Rollins was doing jerk off videos for the owner of Ring of Honor, and that's how he got his spot. Like that was like that's another level of moral compromise that one must make. And if you have the talent to then back it up and earn what you get, like it's very tricky. It's very tricky, and it was always like, people go like, maybe that comes from jealousy. Maybe he didn't do that. Maybe that's just rumors. But there's for sure always been some whisper in the wind of some malfeasance as far as people getting shots and getting spots.
Yep. There's always been that rumor. I mean, especially if you're female. I mean, you got to, that's how you get where you go.
Right.
And I know. Yep.
Yeah.
You hear that like, oh, that's how we got it. And for the record, I never slept with anybody or did anything to get my spot anywhere. I never had. I was never asked to. so I was never asked to, so I never did. Even if I was asked to, I wouldn't have done it.
One of my best friends of my entire life, Aaron Gainey, the wisdom of Aaron Gainey. I'm sure you've heard me talk about Aaron before. Half of the Nigerian Nightmares. He was subject in that card subject change documentary, like the big dudes who people refused to get in the ring with. He was one of them.
Okay.
And he's like, I've never been with anybody in the business, but if I did, it would be somebody who was signed so that I could then get signed too. Like he was always like, yep. He's like, tell Awesome Kong I'm coming after her. Awesome Kong's going to be my next wife.
I'm sure she's waiting for him.
She was waiting her whole life. But rest in peace, Aaron Gainey. You get talked about and smiled about and laughed about every single day.
That's great. Yeah, I tell you what, just like I said, looking back on some of the things that you hear, because a lot of times you don't know what's accurate and you don't know what, or to what extent or what level. But the thing that I'm kind of just looking back on here, I was in the business for over 20 years, I still do the podcast and everything else. And I can't really believe that, I thought I wasn't normal, but I'm looking back and seeing what's been going on in the business, how some of these guys are. I actually was pretty normal. Pretty normal. I'm like, my most famous, I mean, I've had my stories, but I told you, like, when I did these things, they approached me. They came to me. I was a very shy guy, unless maybe if I had a few drinks in me, if I was liquored up a little bit, I might have been a little bit more outgoing and willing to talk to them. But most of the time, I just sat at the bar and they came to me. Hey, you're a wrestler. All right, let's talk. And boom, one thing to another, and that's what happens. So but I never had to manipulate anybody in the locker room or anybody or any females in the business because I got it anyway. You know what I mean? I didn't have to. I was just like,
like if I'm looking back,
we're going back to the 90s.
Let me think if this makes any. Try to make sense of this because okay. I've dated 2 female wrestlers in all these years. And probably through being a wrestler and at shows and all that stuff, I'd probably only hooked up with like fans or whatever twice. Probably only did that 2 times. Most of the time it's been non-wrestling people. It's been like people who live in my town. It's like, it's not like I don't know. It's easier that way.
Gotcha. Well, maybe you just want to compartmentalize it for whatever reason.
Maybe I'm just misremembering.
Did you ever hear the story with what I guess what Randy Orton did, like how he likes to rib people? Like
the handshake thing?
What's that?
The handshake thing where he would like grab his dick and try to shake people's hand. Yeah, I've heard that. I mean,
that's an ongoing rib. I told you, that's always. Wait, were you too good to shake my hand? I want to.
Like, just give me a little fist bump or something like that.
Yeah, here it is.
All right, so see you later. Good.
But I guess somebody complained about that a couple of years ago. Like, I was so offended. I was, some of the stuff that used to happen in locker rooms, like I think even Cornette said if smartphones and the internet existed back in the 80s, these guys would end up in jail. So it's kind of scary to think about that. That's why when people ask me if my daughters are going to get involved, I said no. I said not at all.
Right.
Avoid that at all costs. I think this is going to be a major shakeup in a sense where they're going to make sure there's separate locker rooms now. I think
I think that there's going to be, it's going to be, and I've been kind of saying this throughout the whole thing. WWE might not make it through this. Like, mix that with like the lack of caring in the COVID situation, and like making people stay silent about their sicknesses. And it's like, if that news comes out and there already is talks about how upsetting it is that they're independent contractors and not given health insurance, and then you make them keep their mouths shut on COVID-19, and now people are speaking out about people who have roles of power, like, it's not gonna stop. It's gonna go all the way up. Like, I think, like JBL was getting canceled for bullying, but I think, there's probably more to it than that. And the thing that people were saying about it was like that Vince McMahon would laugh at that kind of stuff. Like, Vince McMahon would get off on the fact, and like, he's such an alpha. He was such an alpha that he would like welcome people to come and try to fight him, like his talent to come and try to fight him. Like, that's not a way to run a business.
Yeah. I don't know about that. I mean, I know he was a bully, and I never had a problem with him. Never, I just was, I kept to myself. I never really started anything.
What? It's all hearsay. It's all hearsay at this point.
Yeah.
And it's really like we were talking about, like that Pat Patterson stuff that people have been whispering behind the scenes for years and years. Like,
oh, that's why Steve Lombardi was his boyfriend.
Right. That's exactly.
That
right.
Too,
that was kind of like one of the examples. Oh, he had a job for 30 years, and that job, they would say that job started with the B.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah.
That was like one of the.
Actually, speaking of independent contractors, did you hear about the California state law that they're trying to get through federal Congress about hopefully I get this correct, because I saw about this in California. There's no independent contractors anymore. You have to be a W-2 employee. Mm-hmm. You have to give them health insurance. Did you hear about that?
I didn't, but that's pretty interesting.
It is interesting. But the thing is, there's some companies like Uber and Lyft that are just, you're an independent contractor with Uber and Lyft. You're just doing it part-time for extra money. Mm-hmm. They're just like, we're just going to keep operating because they can't enforce this. But there's other places like if you're a musician and you go work at a gig, they have to W-2 you and they have to charge you federal taxes and all that instead of you filling out a 1099, something like that. And it's something that's going on in California. It affects it's affecting them differently.
Dude, I've been a gig worker like full time now for like the last year or something, where it's like it's gig, I'm gonna say gig work, 1099, independent contractor. You're working on a bunch of movie sets and TV sets, and it's like you don't have an employer. You have multiple employers that you work for. So if California's putting that rule in place, the film industry is gonna have to change completely.
Yeah. I heard this is affecting the independent film industry more than the actual big studios. So we'll see how that comes about. Because I'm trying to think. When I heard about this, John Stossel did a thing about it. The guy that got slapped by David Schultz.
Yeah. I watched that Dark Side. Yeah.
I love it. He did a story about it, which was interesting. But I'm hearing that they're trying to push this thing nationally. That would kill wrestling.
Yeah.
That would kill professional wrestling. It would. And I don't know if that's why. I don't think that's the reason why they're doing it. But WWE would be like, we can't do that. I can hear McMahon saying it, like getting health insurance and getting people. Yeah, I tell people that all the time. People that have never been in the business don't understand it. And they think it's all this. I said, you're an independent contractor. You are. And they tell you when you can be there, when you get to leave, how many times you're wrestling, who you're wrestling, and how you're going to wrestle. But yet you're an independent contractor.
And sometimes they don't ask you if you're gonna run a match. You find out what match you're in because it's on the website or on the flyer. That's how you find out what match you're gonna be in. Like
sometimes
you don't have a schedule.
Yeah. Sometimes it changes when you get to the building too. Right. If somebody can't make it or something happens. Hey, the flight could. That happens all the time. That's why I tell guys when I was training people, even girls too. I tell them. I said, you practice your match for 3 weeks before the match. What happens when you get there and the show changes? What are you going to do? Right. You got to know how to work. So that's not working. But go ahead.
I was going to say, I recently read Edge's book from 2004. Right. I meant to bring this up when I was bringing up the JBL thing. In the book, he talks about he was showering after a match, and JBL was in the shower with him, soaping his ass with his cowboy hat on.
Okay. Let me be clear what you're saying here. He was soaping his own ass?
He was soaping Edge's ass.
Oh.
While he was in the shower with him. So
he was wearing a cowboy hat?
Yeah. So it was a rib, but it was like really personal boundary.
That's not a rib. That's like prison rape. I mean, God, good Lord.
And it's funny though, like reading that book now, because it's like I said, it's from 2004, so like the times were a little different. So you'll hear him. It seems like he's telling that story in the book, like it's like that's my friend, and we, that day I became cool in his book. Like,
Well, yeah, it sounds, I never had that happen. It's, I could just, nobody soaped my ass for me. I would probably appreciate it. Oh God, Jesus.
well, like,
Yes, it's a fucked up business. Let's just admit that it's just a fucked up business.
yeah,
Go ahead. What are you about to say, Cory?
it's like I don't know how you're going to be able to police everything and make you know what I mean, everything the exact way.
You can't.
Right.
Not in the independents. Not in the independents. If it's a bigger company like WWE or Ring of Honor, they might have an HR person, somebody to talk to if something like that goes on. They might have to put out a policy. But yeah, like I know when I'm working at my regular job and I'm at the insurance company that I work for and everything, it's a different atmosphere, different lifestyle. You know what I mean? There's no way. There's no way you can act the same way there that you would probably in a locker room. You always heard that term locker room talk, right?
This is probably 2017. I'm going to say this story that I'm about to tell you is probably from 2017.
Okay.
I showed up to a show where I was the champion. I was the heavyweight champion of the show, right? Like in the main event.
Okay.
Right. So I showed up and there was a seminar going on with Joey Mercury. Right.
Oh, okay. I know Joey.
Right. So like I wait till it's like quiet and like people are doing their things and then finishing their things before I like go up and I'm just like, hey everybody, and I just kind of like give everybody a little fist bump and I'm like, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Like you guys are doing something. And then he was like, and then he like kind of got like shitty with me. And he's like, yeah. And he got like shitty with me. And then he got like shitty with a couple other people. And then he like turned to another vet. And he went, wrestling's the only place you can still be a dick to people. I love it. He's like, you can still talk like that in wrestling. I'm like, not for long, sir. Those ways are kind of expiring very soon.
Somebody made a good point too, that whenever you referred to wrestlers, we're always called the boys, just hanging out with the boys, or we're in the locker room with the boys. And I remember Jessie Bell, Jessie Bell Smothers, Tracy's daughter, which she was working with a girl that I helped train, NWA Smoky Mountain show, and she was telling him, and she was just starting out, this girl, and she's like, look, you don't date the boys, you don't sleep with the boys, you don't do this with the boys, you don't do that with the boys. And it was just kind of funny. Like, I think I was like, hey, don't smarten her up. It was just kind of like as a joke. It was just like, hey, don't smarten her up. She laughed about it. But I guess we have to start acting like men is the best way to put it. So
yeah,
grown men. We're grown men. Act like
I think everyone who gets into this line, and I kind of alluded to this earlier when I was talking about, like, we're all kind of sped kids. A good amount of us are like sped kids. Like we were kids who grew up needing this attention. We all have a huge like hole in our souls. This like look at me hole that we've got. We're damaged folks. We're damaged people. We have to be very, very careful about the energy in which we direct the damage, because we got to make peace with our damage before we bring it to a place where we can damage others. Like I like to think, I mean, that's why I call my show Evolving, because my ideas of things are always able to change.
Right.
So who I was and things I said, honestly, dude, I told you I told you like last year probably that I had lost my relationship with my sister, my older sister. We had a like a falling out. We don't talk anymore. And when this whole speaking out thing happened, I just started thinking about like taking a mental Rolodex, going back and being like, what kind of person was I when I was younger? What kind of person was I? And I remember a conversation I had with my older sister, Julie, and we were just being, we were just having a real, like, kind of conversation that we're having right now. And she said to me, honestly, James, that's my real name. My real name's James. She said, honestly, if you weren't my brother, we wouldn't be friends. And that kept repeating into my head. If we weren't family, you wouldn't be my friend. I wouldn't be your friend.
With you. Yeah.
What's that?
She said that, in other words, she wouldn't even associate with you.
Right. And I started thinking about that, and I was like, my sister's like a heavier girl. And okay. Dude, I said the word retarded a lot when I was younger.
I have.
Yeah. And I justified it. I justified it by saying I was a special ed kid. I helped out the mentally challenged folks in my classes. Like I went above and beyond to help these people. My half brother was a little challenged when he was younger. Like, people used that word against me in school. People bullied me with that. So I can justify saying that word because I'm using it before it can get used on me. Instead of having to justify it every time, cut it out of my vocabulary. Use something else. And I for sure, I made fat jokes all the time. Oh, look at that fat. It would be like, if I was an overweight person around me, I wouldn't want to be around me. Like, right. I texted Julie the other day, and I said, I thought a lot about your the thing you said to me about not wanting to be my friend. And if I were you, I wouldn't have wanted to be my friend either. So I just want to make sure if I cause you any damage by talking bad about people around you or making you feel invaluable, like making you feel like you're not as valued or like you're not as important. Like I have to look in me and say that was maybe a thing that I had to learn, a lesson that I had to learn. Like we are exactly the same. We're all struggling to figure this all out. We like, especially one of the only like two people in that time frame that had the same parents as me, the same home, like I should understand them more instead of going, well, I just don't understand you and I don't, it's your problem. It's your problem and not my problem. Well, right. It's probably a little bit of my problem too. Let me be accountable to my shit and go, right. I really want to be a part of my sister's life. I really want to be able to talk to her and see how her daughter's doing. And I really want to be able to, what's that?
That's your niece.
Yeah. I want to see how Willow's doing. I want to be able to, she moved into a new house. I want to see the house. Like, yeah. I don't want to have a strained relationship with somebody who I love.
Let me ask you this. How did she react when you said that? What was her reaction?
I can read you the text messages.
Well, you don't have to. I mean, was it positive? Was she accepting?
Dude, it was. I was sitting over my phone with fucking tears in my eyes, honestly.
No, go ahead.
She said, and when I said part of being accountable, because my biggest thing with her, this is super pulling back layers because this is my personal life. My biggest thing with her was always that she wasn't accountable enough for the damage that she did too.
Right.
But as soon as I said that, she was like, we were kids. I fucked up too, and I'm sorry.
There you go.
And
go ahead. I had a thought I wanted to tell you, but I'll hold on. I'll hold it. Go ahead.
Then she called me on her drive home from work the next day. We were just picking right back up, trying to be family again. And like, it
feels good, doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah. So I want anyone to do that. So it's not just going like you did that. The thing is, man, if I did get taken advantage by this doctor person, I'm not mad about it. I forgive him before he would ever even apologize to me. I just don't want other people to be feeling like scared and taken advantage of, because I know I'm not the only one this is happening to. I want to make sure that not other people get victimized by this person. More than anything else. I don't want anything. I don't want him to say anything. I don't care if he does jail time. I don't care if he gets canceled. I just don't want this behavior to continue.
You just don't want to do it to anybody else.
Right.
Because the thing you did was really that took a lot for you to do what you did with your sister. Just to get back on that, and the thought that I had was, it just reminded me of something that somebody explained to me. I don't know how Catholic you are or how Christian you are.
I was raised Catholic, yeah.
So was I. Well, in the Lord's Prayer, one of the lines is, forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And there's some meaning to that. And what that really means is that you're not really truly free until not only do you forgive others, but you also have to forgive yourself.
Yeah.
Makes sense? You have to forgive yourself. And that's when you're truly free. Because I look back on the way I was in the 90s, the way I was, even though I talk about it, I did not like who I was back then. There's times I don't like who I am now. I mean, I'm always working on improving stuff. So I understand. Absolutely. And I did things wrong. I mean, I would be considered a womanizer today back then. But I was just, like I said, I didn't make anybody do anything they didn't want to do. They came to me mostly, they came to me. What are they going to do? But I know what you're saying, though.
So as I was having that conversation, with my older sister, I started telling my little sister about it. And we just sat down, and I had to say, there was probably moments where I said things in front of you that I should have been saying in front of you, because she's 11 years younger than me. She's just a child. She doesn't need to be hearing some of the things that I'm talking about. And then she just opened up this amount of damage that she had been carrying. This sort of this bottomless pit of anger that she had towards me, that she wouldn't have told me about had I not told her, your existence and who you are now is something that I'm proudest of in my life. I don't think I knew really what unconditional love was until she was born. And I had to say, I had to pour out how much she meant to me, and how much I think, our family was kind of in a given up state before she was born. We were all kind of well, seems like nothing's left. What's now? And then she was born, and there was a whole new energy. And she was like, yeah, I'll be very honest with you. When that stuff was happening with that doctor, and I was in my lowest, I went to my mom and told her that I was thinking about killing myself.
Wow.
I said that in front of my sister, who's 13 years old. She didn't need to hear that.
No.
That's not something a 13-year-old kid needs. And I had to come up to her and say, and she was like, yeah, I've been mad at you forever over that. I'm like, well, when you have stuff going on, let's talk about it. Let's figure it out. Because I don't want to have, and that could have, as easily as I could have just glazed that over and not thought about that. That was probably 12 years ago. It was probably, I'm just guessing, 2008 probably, right? So as that was just like passing, the words come out of your mouth. You don't think about them again, but the person who hears them, or the people who read it, they're thinking about that constantly. So you got to be careful about the impact that your role plays in their life. I just want to like continue to pass that on, and that's why I'm calling the show Evolving, because it's not just called Evolving with Cory Kastle because that's my name and I host it. It's like I'm going to, through these life lessons, realize more things that help me grow and become a better brother and a better son, right, and a better role model to whoever else is hearing me or seeing me.
And maybe this is a chance for the wrestling business to evolve as well. And a lot of people should learn from this. I want to say this about Joey Ryan, and I didn't publicly say anything because I didn't care. I mean, I really didn't care. You know, the business, like what you're saying, you went through all this stuff in your life and you didn't realize the damage you did. You didn't until it was pointed out to you.
Right.
I hope he realizes the damage he caused. I hope everybody that's responsible for what they're doing, honestly, really thoroughly think this through and understand what they did wrong and grow from it and get better from it.
Yeah.
Not only did I not do it because I was too shy, but I was also raised not to. I credit my parents for doing a good job with me. It's just sad. It's really sad. But you really opened up, man. I had no idea you went through anything like that. And you didn't have to. I mean, I didn't force it.
It's meaningful. You know what I mean? It's like the point of having these conversations.
Like, this is another point too. I was pointing this. I think I even sent you a clip about this, being a stand-up comedian, and I've talked about this before. If a man gets raped in prison, that's a joke. That's funny.
Right.
You know.
Right.
But if a woman gets raped at any time, that's not a joke. Or a woman, it's just coercion.
Right. Yeah, don't drop the soap is the cliche thing that you say to somebody who's going to do jail time.
Yeah, don't drop the soap, or watch out for Bubba.
Right.
You know, watch out, you're sharing your cell.
You're about to be someone's bitch. Like, it's. I don't know how. I mean, wrestling has kind of been a little bit of a prison to some people, but we don't see the bigger picture of it. We're so inside of it that we don't zoom out to go, oh, wow, okay, well, these jokes have been made for a reason, and this person has had this position of power for too long, and they don't value it as much.
Right.
Because, privilege, like when people have more, then they're presented with more. So it's like if you're a celebrity and you were married to somebody who was a civilian, now more people are throwing themselves at you. So temptation is bigger. So then it's like opportunities. So these people taking advantage of opportunities. I actually co-wrote this movie. I co-wrote this movie where in the story, we shot the movie. It's called The 90%. It's on YouTube. But we shot it where me and my best friend were the main characters.
Right.
And in the story, this guy who was his friend when he was younger, like got him drunk when he was 14 years old and made him jerk him off. And my character found that guy and kidnapped him and put him in the trunk of the car and was like, we're going to either ransom this dude or kill him. This dude's about to pay for what he did to you. And I made sure that these scenes were my favorite to see them happen when I wrote it. When Rick's character was like, I want an apology now. I want an apology. And the guy said, I'm sorry. I saw an opportunity and I took advantage of it. He said, no, you didn't take an opportunity. You took advantage of me. And I think I'm not quoting the line anymore, but a lot of people take the human side out of the opportunity that they're taking advantage of. You think maybe you're taking advantage of an opportunity. You're taking advantage of a human.
Yep.
And I say this about road rage. You're beeping at a car because you just think it's some box. There's a person in that who's had a day. They've woken up and maybe it wasn't the best, and maybe they had a great day, and now you're being a dickhead and you're ruining their day. Like if I get beeped at, I go, yep, well, I know. Or if somebody messes up in the road with me, I go, well, I've made mistakes. I've made mistakes before.
I do. Yeah, I swear a little bit, but I try not to swear in front of my girls. That's the thing. I don't do it. It's funny because they pick up on words, especially when they're toddlers. And my wife, just to kind of lighten this up a little bit, my wife would say when something goes wrong, she's like, "Oh, God bless America." Now my youngest will say that, "God bless America." She'll just say, like, look,
"That's good. That's good."
It could be worse. I mean, it could be worse. It's funny.
There's a thing that me and my girlfriend do where I started it where I go, sacre bleu, pardon my French.
Oh God, yeah. But
so if anybody takes anything else, if you take anything at all from this conversation that we've had, sacre bleu, pardon my French.
And avoid prison. Yes. Well, I the thing that brought that up was because I knew a lot of wrestlers that I knew because Charlie was a corrections officer in Mansfield, and a lot of the guys in the Ohio circuit were corrections officers and cops, and you just kind of said, yeah, just stay the hell out. You don't want to get involved in that. That was a maximum security prison, so that was right. That was like Oz, that's a place you did not want to end up. That's the worst. Yeah. Did you watch
the 13th Amendment documentary on Netflix?
No, I did not. Is that talking about like unless you're convicted of a crime? Then...
It's like the prison industrial complex. So it's like pretty much like, okay, slavery's over, but in the 13th Amendment, it says like unless someone committed a crime, you can't make them a slave unless they committed a crime. So they just started arresting black dudes for anything.
It's involuntary servitude. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was like
yeah,
like we got to evolve as humans and how we treat other humans. We got to recognize the fact that like everyone is a father, son, or a mom or a daughter, or a brother or a sister, and not just some statistic.
True. That's true. And the other thing too about that, the prison population, a lot of them are filled with nonviolent drug offenders.
Right.
And if I'm not mistaken, I'm not being pro-Trump here on this. This is something he actually did do after he met with Kanye West and Kim Kardashian, where he signed the prison reform executive order, which freed hundreds of nonviolent drug offenders, which is my understanding. So that's a step in the right direction.
Yeah.
But yeah, because the crime bill in '94 is what caused that. But the same thing too, the crime rate did drop significantly. Things were cleaned up. So there's a balance to it. You want to keep everybody safe, You want to make sure the communities are safe, but at the same time, you don't want to put people in prison unjustly. So there's a balance to it. I understand. And yeah, it's a place you don't want to end up. It's probably the worst place in the world to end up because you don't want to be there. And well, the thing that a lot of the corrections officers were telling me, they told me stories like guys that would come in and how they would manipulate them. And next thing you know, a week or two later, they're dressed up like women. They'd force women at them. Mm-hmm. And they would do stuff like that. It's like, could you imagine that? I'm like, wow. That would happen. Mm-hmm. Or there was a story, it was a doc. It wasn't a doc, it was an actual film, but the guy talked about it. I can't remember the guy's name, but it was called Fish, A Boy in a Man's Prison. He was 17 years old in Michigan. And this was back in the 70s. He robbed a photomat. Do you remember what photomats were? It was like a kiosk or a hub in a parking lot.
Oh, like in that 70s show, like where he worked at. That's in that 70s show.
You took your film for your camera to get developed. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you don't have those today, obviously, because of the cell phone. So he robbed it with a fake gun. Mm-hmm. And by Michigan law, it's considered a Class C felony because if she believed that was a real gun, the person that he robbed believed it was a real gun, it's considered an armed robbery. So he had to do 3 years in a maximum security prison, even though his lawyer told him, oh, you're going to go to a camp. Don't worry about it. He had a public defender. Wow. So I think that's
trying to let him agree to anything just so.
Yeah.
So that
he ended up going to, it was called MR, Michigan Reform. And within 24 hours, he was gang raped. They spiked his drink with Thorazine, which knocked him out, and they flipped the coin to see who would own him. And he basically, for this guy's protection, he was his slave in prison for those 3 years. So he had to do that. He was 17. He was just a kid, and he was stuck in it. He didn't have a chance. So that's a sad story how that happened. But it didn't really screw him. I mean, he actually turned out pretty good in life, but he wanted to tell a story. And I guess he told the story, too, that's when he realized he was gay because the night before he was supposed to go in, his brother bought him a hooker and he couldn't perform. Mm-hmm. So something like that. But anyway, I kind of digressed on the whole story, but it made me think about that.
Yeah. I mean, it's got to be it's got to be I don't envy and I have to also very often get to where I have to appreciate how lucky I am. So that part is like I'm not only born in a free country, but I'm like in like a pretty metropolitan area, and everything I have or want is right near me, and I don't have to worry about like getting pulled over by a cop and him just shooting me because I'm black. I recognize that so much, and I think some people get so wrapped up in their like patriotism, and they're such locked in programmed pride. It's the systematic like, well, greatest country in the world, and it's like not taking that away from you, not taking away. When Colin Kaepernick kneeled for the flag, he said, they say, for liberty and justice for all. And for all, it's not happening for all right now. Like, for sure, it isn't happening for all. And it's never happened for all. And it really should.
Yeah, I agree. It should. Kaepernick was doing that. I said at a point in time to do something and a place in time to do something. That I told you what I felt, why I disagreed with you. And interestingly enough, he said that, and he had opportunities to still play after that because he opted out of his last year with San Francisco. He turned down a contract from the Broncos. He even had a workout not too long ago, and he showed up to another area or to another location. but that's just something totally. We don't want to get off subject. I know what you're saying though.
Yeah, it was less about Kaepernick and more about
when I was boxing and I was 18, I got pulled over in a neighborhood because I stood out because I was going to the ghetto to box. It was a Saturday morning,
right?
And he's like, what are you doing here? Because I was actually driving a little bit fast because I was running late, and I said, well, I'm 2 blocks away from the Salvation Army boxing gym. I was going to go box. I'm training at Flint Martin and go do some sparring. And he said, okay, what's in your duffel bag? I had a duffel bag in my front seat the whole time. This was the way I was told. My hands were at 10 and 2. And I made sure he could see my hands because I was told when I first learned how to drive, you get pulled over, you make sure the police can see your hands. And I had my license, and I think I had my license and my insurance card. And I said, I can get my registration, but I have to go in my glove compartment. Is that okay? And he said, yeah, go ahead. So, I mean, I cleared it with him. And he looked at it. And he goes, can I see what's in your duffel bag? It was just my boxing gear. He thought I was there to buy drugs because I was fighting. I was in that neighborhood. But let me go. So, I mean, it was cool. But I was nervous. I was like, whoa. I thought I was getting a speeding ticket, to be honest with you. Because I might have been speeding a little bit, but it was more of like he was profiling me. I guess I handled it as best as I could. I didn't really think about it back then, but now I think about it. It's like, you make a wrong move, you do something stupid at a young age, you could end up dead. Absolutely. And it's tough. It's tough.
I was pulled over kind of recently. It wasn't that recent, but it was definitely like I was in a place in Jersey where like, dude, I don't look like everybody else. From afar, I don't look like everybody else. They pulled me. They said that like I didn't use my turn signal in an appropriate amount of. I didn't use my signal early enough or something, and pulled me over for that. And I was like, yeah. When he pulled me over, I was just like, hey, dude, what's up? Like, he came over on the passenger side, and I was like, what's up, bro? Like, I just was very casual with him, and he's like, you didn't signal in time or whatever. And I was like, oh, sorry. Dude, I just can't. I was just doing stand-up comedy. And the guy was like, oh, you do stand-up comedy? And I was like, yeah, there's a little bar around the corner that does stand-up comedy. Yeah. And he was like, all right, well, see you later. And I was like, okay, bye. But like, that couldn't happen if I wouldn't have been able to say, yo, bro, what's up? What's up, dude? Hey, like if I was a black dude, like then it would be somehow I was like, I had the wrong attitude or I was resisting, or it would always turn into something and there would be fear. And I don't live with that fear. And I recognize that. I recognize the privilege of like, there is a lot of like, blind pride, like pride in the it's like a little bit of propaganda, what's like pumped into our systems as a kid, like the song Proud to Be an American playing while the fireworks are going off. I still cry a little bit when I see that. Like that's something, as a little kid I knew that was like my Uncle Jimmy's favorite song, and like it takes me back to that, like where he just wore American flag hats all the time. And it's just like, okay, that was a simpler time. And it just makes me think. And it's like, he was so proud of it. And so much like, oh, well, we're going to go nuke their asses. Or, and it was just like, it was just like a sort of a program that wasn't independent. It was like, that's like being like you said, they just make the guys wear the dresses in prison. They didn't do that, or they make them act like a girl or whatever. It's like, it's kind of forced upon them. It's like that. I think that some of the patriotism, some of the, dude, I'm wearing my American flag face mask every day. It's like, I'm proud of who I am and where I got to be raised, like where I was born and where I was raised, but I'm not tying that to every single piece of what America means. I'm not tying because there are innocent kids in cages. You know, that's not, I'm not across the board proud of America. I am an American. I'm not an ignorant American. And I think that it's like I have to look at this as a way to big picture from it all. And it's totally strayed from the path as far as we're talking about wrestling. We were talking about speaking out on that, but it's really that whole being accountable to like what you can control.
True. And the fact that an athlete can kneel or a person can kneel during the anthem proves that they're free. It proves that you're free. So we are free. With the stuff that's going on, whether you're talking about tearing down statues or you're talking about, I think because my last podcast before this one, I talked about the Black Lives Matter, because I don't know if you heard that one or not.
No,
I basically had an encounter with them, with my lodge and everything. This is right when all the stuff was really heating up, and this was right after all the riots and stuff were happening. They planned to march right down the street where our lodge was, right in front of our lodge. So we just got together and we made sure that things got out of hand, nobody was going to loot it, and nothing happened. Everything was fine. I mean, they did that with the police department. There was a big police presence there. Everything was fine. So it can be done. That's why I did the podcast. I'm proving, hey, this can be done. You don't have to riot. You don't have to loot. And don't destroy businesses, because a lot of these businesses are owned by Black people. A lot of them employ Black people. What are we going to do now? This doesn't work. This isn't the right way to do it. So that was my point with that. Right. A lot of times people are okay. The sad part was the people that were okay with it on Facebook were fine until, like that mayor in Seattle, she was all good until the protesters showed up at her door. You know what I mean? And it's like, yeah, okay, lady, here you go. You didn't do anything about them. So no, that's a whole other story. Like back to the whole speak out thing and the wrestling, I think you might be seeing a culture change. You might seeing it like not necessarily a revolution, but an evolution of how we look at things. I don't know what the result of this is going to be. I'm thinking if WWE doesn't survive, it's going to be like scorched earth in the business back in the early 1900s.
It's going to be like what? I'm sorry.
Scorched earth back in the early 1900s, 120 years ago in the business, before the territories started to back up. And maybe eventually it'll go back to the territories in another 40 or 50 years. I think back then, the business was totally different because it was still a legitimate sport until the 1920s. That's when it became a work. But we'll have to see. It was a productive conversation. I mean, I'm looking back on these things that we talked about, things, we were even indoctrinated at young ages of what a man's supposed to be. And right. I think there's a balance. So we were just talking about being, I'm considered an alpha male at my job, and I'm like, this is nothing. I mean, I'll
tell you some weird stuff. Like I told you, I was in this like open relationship for like a year and a half. So I would go on dates with girls, and the theme of some of it wound up being, it won't work because you're not alpha enough for me. That's what girls have said that to me. You're not alpha enough for me. Okay. It's like, here's what happened.
Everybody
I went out on a date.
Right?
What's that?
Everybody has their type. Oh.
So the girl was like, "Oh, I listened to your podcast, and it's amazing. The things you say are great." And I was like, "Wow, I mean, cool." And then she was like, "Oh, I really loved your episode with your mom. I did an episode with my mom." And she just had a whole lot of comments to say about that conversation. And then we like met up and went on 2 dates. This girl is a correctional officer in a prison. Right. So she's telling me about work and then telling me about getting pepper sprayed. Oh, she also commented on how much she liked the calluses on my hands because I'm rough or whatever. Because from lifting weights. Because this is just what weightlifters do. Right?
Yeah. If you're watching the video, there it is.
Yeah, that's same.
It's from weights. Yep.
It's from lifting weights, and she was like talking about how much that was hot that I had calluses on my hands when like no one else had ever said that to me, and then like she was telling me about how she was a correctional officer, and everyone had to get pepper sprayed as a part of the training to become a correctional, right?
I thought that knew her at work, but okay, it was part of her training.
Part of the training, people had to get sprayed, and she said that the other men in her prison got pepper sprayed and they were puking and crying, and she said that she called them all pussies. And it's like, you can't say that to people. Like, that's not cool. Don't do that to people. Like you shouldn't like. I was like, look, you got a powerful job and you got like a nice car and you make good money and stuff, but like you just got to treat people right. Like you can't be a jerk to people. And then she was driving and she like cursed somebody out on the road. And I was like, why are you, all the power that you have, you're such a sweet person. Why are you stooping to a level that you don't need to stoop to? I'm sorry, what'd you say, Lou?
Why are you having road rage? And she's like,
right. I was like, you don't have to stoop to this level. And then we go to this bar. It's somewhere in Jersey, and she like a bunch of like a group of black people came in, and she then got close to me and whispered, "It's getting dark in here."
Wow.
And I went, "You're a racist." And that sucks. That sucks that you're so racist. And she went, "No, I was saying it like it was a good thing." And I was like, if you were saying it like a good thing, then you wouldn't have said it at all. Like you wouldn't have whispered it.
Yeah.
Like that screams expired mindset.
Now, was this prison a male prison or a female prison that she worked at?
I don't know.
I'm just sure.
I didn't stick around much longer to figure out. I just removed myself from the situation. And we were texting the next day, and she said, "Well, you're not alpha enough for me." And I was like, "No, I'm just not okay with you being a racist bully. If that's not alpha, consider me a beta all day. I'll take it, sure." Yeah. And then I went out with another girl like weeks later, where like we had the first date, and that was real innocent and nice. And she came back to my apartment. She came went into my room and then looked at me and said, "You're being weird right now." And I was like, "Oh, I am? Let's get out of my room. You get out of my house. Like, if you're saying I'm being weird, go." Okay. And then she, the next day, started like getting like hot and heavy with me and like being like kind of pervy. And I was like, okay, well.
Well, was it, wait a second, the next day, was it text messages, phone
yeah,
calls?
Text messages. She was getting like kind of pervy with me and kind of like, it wasn't as awkward as what our first date was. And then she like.
Different.
What's that?
You youngsters handle things differently in my day.
Right. So then like she started sending me stuff like sending me videos and pictures and stuff. And I was like, okay, she was a really attractive girl. And I was like, well, I don't mind this. Like, let's see where this goes. And I started like participating with it all. And then it was like, I went to her. She was like, come to my house. Like, let's like do stuff. And I like went to her house and she was like, oh, can you watch Game of Thrones with me? And then she was like, oh, I'm going to also make you watch this other movie that you don't care about. And she like ordered food. And then she was like, I told her the story like earlier, like maybe on the first date, about how that other girl told me I wasn't alpha enough. And then the girl went, you aren't alpha enough. And I was like, what? I'm nice and interested in what you're talking about? I don't understand. How? Because I'm not a dickhead? I don't get it. I was like, I don't want to be in an open relationship anymore. I just want my girlfriend, and that's it.
I don't. Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe I can't say I'm not in this girl's head, but I think kind of what I'm hearing from you. I think she expected you to make a move on her.
Yeah, maybe.
That's what I'm thinking.
Well, I've
done that before when I was with somebody or God,
right, like,
I'm the shy one, and I'm like being nice and being gentle.
Like, we wound up making out, and she was like being critical and shit, and it was just like,
you're better off without her.
I was like, I don't need you trying to tell me what I'm doing wrong.
Yeah, I think
I've got everyone else in my life telling me what I'm doing wrong. I don't need that right here.
Yeah, I don't need this here. Yeah, no, do it this way. No, you don't need that. Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
yeah. If it was that way just for kissing, I can't even imagine if it went past that, and I'm glad it didn't.
Yeah, geez. Imagine how critical she would have been at that. Huh. Right. But yeah, no, I appreciate you doing this podcast with me. I think like I said, I was telling people, nobody really asked me like, well, you haven't done an episode in a while. What's going on? Because last one I did was about the Black Lives Matter incident. Because I felt it was me talking for about 20 minutes and just explaining. And I kind of took a break. I stepped back from it because just let things cool off. Because I think people are afraid to get canceled. They're afraid of saying the wrong thing. Like you talked about, like you talked about your views on certain things. I talked about my views on certain things. And I'll tell you, I will defend my position with stats, facts, and I'll tell you why I think the way I do. And we can have a discussion as long as we have a productive discussion. That's all that matters, and we're adults here.
Right.
You can do that, and that's fine. It's just, I don't know. Like I said, I think I might be sounding like I'm 47 now. I just turned 47 not too long ago, and I look at what the younger people, and I'm like, God, I'm glad I'm not in my 20s now. Holy Jesus! Oh. I thought things were fucked up when I was in my 20s. This is shit. I'm happy. I'm happy where I'm at. I'm happy with the life I have. I'm glad I'm out of the wrestling business. And I like doing my podcast and talking. And I'm glad that you opened up to me. There's any one thing you want to tell my audience before we wrap this up, man? What would it be? Go.
I'll get one quick story and then kind of wrap it in a bow.
Go ahead.
Last night, I said I like went and I hung with some comedians, and they are wrestling fans. They love wrestling. Like this group of comedians are also big wrestling fans, and they were asking me questions about the business, and they were asking me like specifics about maneuvers and things, and I started talking about. I remember saying like, dude. Probably last week, somebody who I was in in a year-long program with this person in Delaware. We did like really cool. We did a real cool program. We made this guy. It was like I was a heel and I made him my lackey, and I like made him follow me around and do stuff for me, and made the fans sympathize with him so that when he turned on me, it would be huge. we drew that out for 6 months to a year. We had a lot of fun together. He just got brought up on some allegations. He's probably never going to wrestle again. He's been every place he's worked is kind of severed ties with him. And I'm like, oh, I miss wrestling and stuff, but I definitely don't want my name attached to the stigma of people who are abusive and manipulative.
Yeah.
I hope that I hope that the people who've got some impact from my wrestling career could have been inspired by my behavior, as you know, never getting into any of that stuff. And I would hope that I was just texting yesterday with one of my best friends in the business. One of the people who was very much responsible for me, like he like believed in me to like put me in main events. Like it wasn't like he was my friend, so he put me in main events. He believed in me, so he put me in main events, and we became friends like more throughout that. And I was like, dude, I miss wrestling so much, but I don't know if I want to come back to it now. And I've been making this joke as the quarantine started that when this is over, either I'm hanging up my boots or I'm buying new boots. So I've been making the joke since the quarantine.
Okay, what you gonna do?
Right. So I might buy new boots just to hang them up. The hanging boots. And dude, I've just designed a new pair of tights, and I'm like, oh, should I even bother spending the money to get these made?
Well,
who knows?
I just say this: don't make a decision now.
Right.
I always recommend just sleep on it, think about it, give it some time. Emotions are high now with a lot of things that are happening. I think with emotions, things cool off. Like when you're angry, when you're angry about something, or you're really upset about something, or anything else, eventually you come back down, and you think like sleep on it, give it some time. I say I never say never, but I like where I'm at now. So
I think as a personality and as I have a lot still to give to this business, to wrestling. I think I look more like a wrestler than 90% of the people in locker rooms. Like that's legit. What's that?
At 47 years old, I look better than 95% of the guys out there.
Right.
I do. I mean, I'm still in really good shape. I mean, well, it's just.
I knew I was getting on with you, so I dressed very humbly as to not look like I was trying to show off or anything. Because you're 10 years older than me, and you look better than me.
Humbly, I like that. Humbly. I love it, man. Thank you. I appreciate the compliment.
I just want,
Well, I'm going to say this now on my podcast, and I told a couple of first. My wife knows I'm doing this a year ago because I'm not going to wrestle. I'm not going to travel. I got with a bodybuilding trainer. Okay.
Uh-huh.
I'm not going to say his name. I'm not going to clear it, but I work because he works at the same company I work for. He works in the IT. There's a fitness center there. That's how I met him. We talked. I always wanted to try and compete in amateur bodybuilding. So I reached out to him. We talked. He put me on a program last year. And in 12 weeks, I got to the leanest I've been since God knows when. I was down to 8.38% body fat. And this was just a reset. The plan is when I turn 50, I'm going to compete in Masters Division bodybuilding. So in 3 years, I am going to compete in national. And what I would want to do, the best I could do in amateur, the highest level I could ever get is win a national title in Pittsburgh. So that's the plan. That's what I'm trying to do. So I'm right now in the second week of the program this year. Once a year, we're going to meet. Then once after the third year, we're going to put together a program so I can take home a trophy in my first competition. So that's what we're like.
Do you know who Grey Wolf is?
Yeah, I know who Grey Wolf is.
One of my dearest friends. He's my roommate. I said to him a couple days ago, I said, okay, I'm 36 now. When I'm 40,
Yeah.
I want to train like a bodybuilder. I want to hit that bodybuilder body at 40.
Yeah.
And it's fun. And I said bodybuilding, and he's super bodybuilder body. Yeah.
Huge. Yeah.
Yeah. And he was like, dude, it's harder than anything. Like
Yeah.
to compete. It's so hard. You have no idea how hard it is.
The hardest thing for me is the food prep.
Yeah.
Because you are prepping your food. And like right now, and I just told my wife, we have a charcoal grill. I said, I want to get a propane grill so I can just grill my chicken.
Right.
And I don't have to use the grill in the kitchen anymore and smoke up the kitchen every time I do it. So I could prep, because I work it from home now. It's a lot easier to prep my food. And we shop at the wholesale club. I can get to the gym, and I have the cardio machine at home, so I can do it. It's just a matter of putting in the time and planning it out. And anybody that knows me, my wife will tell you, or anybody that knows me, I am a meticulous planner. I can do that. And the trainer, his name, I'm not gonna say his name, but he was like, he loved the results that I got. He said, because he saw it in my eyes, like, hey, I want to do this. I want to do this. I want to compete. I want to win some. I want to, because I can't really. Yeah, it is. It's not easy, because I remember because I'm 2 weeks into this program. I'm like, oh my God. So it's yeah, because the key is, if you do a set, you only have a certain amount of time of rest between sets.
Right.
You got minutes, depending on the weight.
Yeah, you got that 90 seconds is so important.
Oh yeah, and you're focused. You are
right.
focused on your next set. You are concentrating on what you're doing, and you're going. You don't stand around, hey bro, what's happening? No. My earbuds are in. I'm a complete prick. Once I'm done, I'm your best friend. I don't care. I'm cool with it. Yeah.
But this also points to me how similar you and I are. Yeah. Like that we both were like, here's the roundup age point that we're gonna hit, and we're gonna do this. And like we both said the same thing. Like I'm like, as soon as I'm 40 in 4 years. When 40 hits, I'm doing that bodybuilding training. And you're like, I'm in the middle of it, and at 50 I'm gonna compete.
I'm gonna compete. Yeah, because I came to him with a 4-year plan, because I knew it. And he just he looked at me and he kind of knew I was thinking. I am thinking 4 years ahead, maybe 5 years. So I'm saying, what's stopping me in 6 or 7 years from competing nationally in the nationals and taking home a trophy in Pittsburgh? That's just that they have the amateur nationals is in Pittsburgh every year.
I named your episode "I'm Gonna Do This" because that embodies you.
Oh well, that's how I was successful in wrestling. I was successful in anything in my life was because I had the work ethic. I did it, and that's where you could separate it. Like I'll watch docs. Like you've probably seen Pumping Iron. Yeah. And with Arnold, and he'll even tell you, like, you're going through those reps, and you are dying. You are like ready. You're burning. You can't go any further, but you still have 5 more to go. And if you push through and you get those 5 more reps, that's the difference between being a champion and not. And that's with anything. You got to push through and burn through that. But when you're done, I'm done. When I'm done at the gym, I'm dripping in sweat. I'm in my car. I'm driving home. And I could just feel it. My body's shaking. And I'm just like, yeah, I love it. I'm smiling. I'm like, this is awesome. That's like cotton candy. It's my drug. That's what I like to do. So when we were in that quarantine and I couldn't train, I was banging my head against the wall. I was doing dumbbells at home, and I had the cardio machine at home. That was the best I could do, and really cut down my carbs and my diet. But otherwise, I feel like I'm doing fantastic. So
I'm very glad.
Oh yeah. Well, that's just interesting that it came up. So I could do this. I can compete, and I'm not on the road all the time. I'm still working from home. It doesn't hurt my family. It's all checks all the boxes for me. And hey, that's what it is. And I wanted to also say, man, I appreciate you opening up to me, because I didn't want to jump in, because I had a similar story with my brother and how we got along for the longest time. And him and I are getting along better than ever right now, because he opened up to me about something a long time ago, asked me to hold that secret, and did. And it's a respect thing. and he's going through things in his life because he was the alpha male. He was the alpha. He would, if he's sitting right here, he'd tell you this. And when he played football,
Yeah, dude, I've heard stories of your brother. You're very like you've told me many stories of your brother.
He taught me how to wrestle, and he taught me how to lift weights. He taught me that.
Right.
And his thing, when he tackled, when he played football, he was a linebacker. He led with his head. He had to wear a neck roll and everything. Well, he's suffering through Parkinson's right now.
Oh wow.
So he's had surgeries. He's had medication. It's not really taken as well. And he's 4 years old, and he's gonna be 51 in August. So here, he's going through Parkinson's. So he's struggling with it.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the things. It's like, it's I don't want to say God humbles you. I don't want to say karma humbles you. I think it's just life. Experience
humbles you.
Experience humbles you. Yeah. And he regrets things that he said to me, and I regret things that I said and did to him. Forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. That's what that means. That's really, you're not truly free until not only you forgive other people, but you also forgive yourself, because it's just going to eat away at you. And I don't want to live my life like that. So
have you ever heard of Ram Dass?
No.
Okay. So if you look up Ram Dass, Ramdass, he does these lectures. And in one of the lectures, he was talking about when he met his guru, Maharaji. And Maharaji told him, it's all this gigantic lesson. I'm gonna try to keep it brief, but it's really like, always be honest and love everybody. So
you died back in December. Ram Dass died December 22nd, 2019 in Hawaii.
Yeah. Yeah, but there people were visiting him, and there's retreats, and he meant a whole lot to a lot of people, myself included. But it was definitely about the love. It's hard to love your enemies, but you've gotta understand that the enemy is just as important in your life as your family is.
Yep.
Because it gives you an ability to relate one way or the other with everything.
Yeah. And hey, man, you know what? And you have the power to better yourself. You have the power to not let these people have power over you that have wronged you. So that's the best way to handle it. I think, man, this was a hell of a conversation. It's too bad I have to be.
I'm glad we were able to do it. I'm glad that, dude. I'm happy as hell that you're keeping up with this Stewpot. And
this is, I think this is episode 12 or 13, but I didn't say the actual episode number because I didn't look it up. I just kind of went.
I checked a few. I saw Ronnie, and I saw.
Nicole. I love her, man.
She's my bud. If she listens, what's up, Ronnie?
Hey.
and Cue Ball. I listened to some of that. So
Cue Ball. There's some other guys in Pittsburgh that I know. I talked to Quinn Magnum. He's the booker out in Pittsburgh, and a lot of the guys in Ohio that I started up with. And I even apologized to one of them because I was such a dick back then. I said, I owe you an apology. He said, it's okay, man. It's okay. I said, no, I'm going to apologize. I'm sorry. He said, fuck this. I'm going to apologize. Oh yeah. There's people that I've met with, and I even told my wife, she probably would not have liked me when I was 25.
Right.
So she'll probably, if she was in here now, she'd fuck with me. She'd say, I don't like you now. She would say that. So one of these days I'll do that. When we do a podcast, I'll bring my daughters in here. And they'll love it.
Okay.
Yeah, it'd be funny. But this is awesome.
I'm very curious to see what kind of people they turn into. I'm excited for that.
Me too. I think I'm not worried. I'm not worried because I figure you take it one day at a time, be the best father I can be, and having a good relationship with them will impact the relationships they have when they get older and they're with men as they become young ladies and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
It was funny because my nephew just got married about 2 weeks ago, and the 4th of July, my sister's having everybody over the house, so we're going to get together and celebrate it. It was kind of like a post 4th of July kind of wedding party. We did it.
Hang sesh.
Yeah. Well, his wife has a nephew that's 3. Both my daughters were at the wedding, and she was just best friends with this boy. And I'm sitting there going, she's not even 5 yet, and I'm dealing with this. She's just thinking, yeah. He said he told me, he's like, Isabella's really pretty, and I'm like, you're 3. I mean, really? So, but hey, brother, anytime we could do this. I thought it was a good idea to get things out in the open, just talk about it. Once people start talking and they feel better, and maybe they start sharing and understanding things, it helps. I was fortunate and I was blessed to have a good parents and have a good life. I was never abused. I was never molested. I was never raped. I never had anything like that happen to me. I never had to go to war. I was blessed. I won't say privileged. I think I was blessed because I had good parents that raised me right. And I mean, I'm not saying my life was perfect or anything. Nobody's. So right. I count my blessings. I'm grateful for what I have, and I'm grateful to have the family that I have too, and the support. And like I said, you had a great mom growing up, so definitely tell her I said hello. I listened to that podcast. You remember when I texted you right after that?
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah, I said, hey, that was good. All right, everybody. I want to say, hey, look, everybody that listens, I greatly appreciate it. Let you know, like and share. Please subscribe. Everybody, welcome to the Stewpot. You just listened to Cory Kastle. Thanks, man. Have a good one.
Thanks, Lou. See you, man.
I got to piss.
Thanks, guys.
All right, bye.
All right, bye.